Hi everybody, my name is Mike. I work here at Audio Excellence. A few weeks back, Adrian did a video. It's a series that we do. We title it Toys from My Attic or Toys in My Attic. In this particular video, he did Martin Logan's CLS.
So he had stuck all these egg crates on the wall, and right in front of that wall was this panel, these two panels that were see-through, and there was music very quietly playing through it. And I went all the way up to the speaker and I put my ears against it. I couldn't understand, how's this a speaker? I've never seen anything like this before. So then the gentleman came out, asked me if I could help. I said, I'm looking for a better system. I told him my sad story. He laughed at me, and then he says, well, obviously, those are not very good speakers. I said, what are these? So he started telling me. So the speakers I'm going to talk about are called the Martin Logan CLSs.
Boy, that sound. Transparency like I've never heard before from a speaker anywhere close to this price range. Now, when audiophiles talk about speakers and transparency, usually I think that we mean detail or maybe resolution. But with the Martin Logan CLS line, transparency takes on a whole different meaning, literally and metaphorically. I mean, there's no traditional woofer, there's no traditional dome tweeter, there's no thick MDF or wood cabinet that's introducing its own voice. Instead, you get this single, impossibly thin, pretty much fully exposed electrostatic diaphragm that's suspended between two curved, I guess they would be called stators. A stator is a stationary part of an electric motor. And that's it. So one driver, essentially full range. And so what does that mean in practice? I mean, there's no crossover point. There's nothing to cross over, so there's no crossover smear. There's no driver integration problems. There's no cabinet coloration. I mean, there's just one continuous membrane that's producing everything from delicate whispers to like soaring crescendos, shimmer of cymbals, everything flows from one surface, so it feels very unified and coherent. Not to say that a traditional speaker doesn't, but a traditional speaker has a crossover inside, and that crossover is responsible for spreading the frequencies across these different drivers. And sometimes, depending on the speaker, sometimes it's not a completely unified, coherent, cohesive sound. It's the opposite of that for these Martin Logans, the complete opposite. The first time I played a live recording on it, Billie Holiday, I think the album is Lady in Satin. It's the first track, I'm a Fool to Want You. It wasn't just the sound of the strings, because she's playing with an orchestra. It wasn't just the breath behind her vocals. There was a truth behind it, a musical truth and an emotional truth. Rarely have I heard a speaker that conveys this raw emotional tone. No overhang, no smearing, no lag. Every tiny inflection comes through. Every subtle texture in an instrument, a violin or a saxophone, it comes through with this purity that is startling. And you hear the breath between the words, you hear the lips parsing and a quick breath of tension before the next note is released. Sometimes you close your eyes and you forget that you're surrounded by walls and a ceiling. You're peering into this venue, where the music was recorded, or the recording studio where the music was recorded. But the fact is that room tone, the air of a room, is extremely important for the atmosphere. And on the CLSs, it just recreates it in this stunning detail. And I mean, it's almost holographic. Nothing I've ever heard has come anywhere close to this. It's like you're eavesdropping on a performance. Now, I will say this, they need to be truly matched to an amplifier. I'm not saying you need brute force in terms of wattage, but you do need an amp that has a lot of current and control. You paired it with the right amp with enough current, and you unlock this level of dimensionality and harmonic richness. It was nothing short of magical. Now, I don't want to call them flaws, let's call them deficiencies. They are a very, when we're talking about the bass response, they're very thin. Now, don't get me wrong, the bass is there. I should feel it. I did not. It leaves me wanting. So my second track is Behind Blue Eyes by The Who. This is another track I listen to when I'm setting up a system. This track has dual personalities. The first half is quiet and introspective. It's just vocals, harmonies, acoustic guitar, and bass. The second half is bombastic. Overdubbed electric guitars, drums, and during the second half, the drummer, Keith Moon, does a machine gun snare drum roll. It's buried in the mix. You can't hear it. On lesser systems, it's barely audible. You could tell someone it's there and they could listen to it 10 times and still not hear it. But on the CLSs, it came through loud and clear. Amazing, really. Pete's guitar. So Pete's guitar at the beginning of the song is acoustic. I believe it's panned right. And on the left side, either it's reverb or there is another microphone that's picking up room tone. It sounds like reverb. I mean, it's apparent on every system, but on the CLSs, it bloomed so much that it made me feel an atmosphere of the song that I had never heard before, that's been missing on a lot of other systems. And again, I use this almost every time I set up a speaker system, and I have never really heard it presented like this before. There's also the bass. There's a piano-like tone to the bass. If you know anything about recording and you're listening to a mix and the engineer solos the bass, it sounds a lot different than it does in the mix. There's a lot of mid and high frequencies that kind of get buried when a bass is in a mix, but those frequencies help the bass come through a little bit. Now, John Entwistle's tone is he's always had a very piano-like tone, at least in this era. And that piano-like tone came through very, very easily in this mix. So, I've been listening to this track since I was in kindergarten. I've never heard the tone of the bass come through the mix like this before. But once again, it's a bass, and I'm missing that low frequency punch. I will say this though. The speaker, it demands a lot from the equipment behind it. It demands a lot from the room and room placement. It demands a lot of you as well. But if you give it that, you are rewarded with something that is truly remarkable. Would I have these speakers in my home? They're not forgiving speakers. It doesn't flatter poor recordings. It doesn't gloss over any flaws. It presents the music as is. I listen to a lot of jazz, I listen to a lot of classical, I listen to a lot of classic rock. And unfortunately, every time I put on classic rock, with the exception of like Steely Dan, when I put on Zeppelin, terrible. When I put on the Stones, oh, it was terrible to listen to. When the source is not good, it's not going to sound great. You're going to hear it as it is, but it is very faithful. So when the source is good and the system is dialed in, and the room is right, the results are what would be transformative would be a good word to use. It's not an exaggeration to say it. They really were, like, my jaw hit the floor so many times in listening to tracks. I mean, when I listen to since that time now, it's been almost a month. When I listen to traditional speakers now, they almost seem too thick or too dense. Like someone has put the veil back on to the speaker. So yeah, in that way, the CLSs, they were honest, they were intimate. There was no hype, no tricks. Yeah, it was just this beautiful emotional response to a speaker that I haven't had in a very, very long time. So yeah, I'm glad Adrian asked me to listen to them and give you my feedback. If you get a chance to ever listen to them, take it. Yeah, you'll be rewarded. It was amazing. Yeah. Okay, that's all for me right now, and you guys have a great day. Bye.